2018 Exam 1 Core Data Analysis, questions 7 to 9. Okay, we've got some lovely data shown here that's going to be used for the next 3 questions. So it says, using the least squares line to model the association between resting prostate and time spent exercising, the residual for the student who spent 4 hours per week exercising is closest to. Well, let's see, time spent exercising is on this axis, so there's our 4. So we're actually talking about the point up here. All right, now, when we're talking about residual, you've got your least squares line. That's the least squares line there. So we're looking at is this distance. It's a vertical distance. So this is actually the negative side, and this is the positive side. So if we start at the line and we'd go down to that dot, which is for the 4. So we've gone from 64 to 63. So we've gone down the negative side of the line. So it's minus 1. So the answer is B. Okay, now we are going to find the equation of the least squares line, which is that line going down there. But this thing contains a classic cheat, which is right here. And the point is that this is not 0 on the x-axis. And that's a classic trick to do to you, because what you do is you often go, oh, look, up here it's about 67.2, so it must be A, B, or E. But actually it's not, because if you take the line and go across and make that 0, and you extend that up here, and then you follow that line through, you suddenly start seeing, oh, actually it's 68.3. So A, B, and E are wrong. And so a lot of people got this wrong because they went for B because they got stuck with that not 0 thing. Please check that. It's a very, very common trick. They do love it. They think they're hilarious or something. I don't know. Now, let's have a look at this. Gradient is rise over run, yeah? So rise over run. There's a couple of ways of looking at this, but basically that rise is about 11 from that point, and this point we're going along 1 to 11, which is only 10, so it's 11 over 10, and it's going down like this, isn't it, which we know is a negative gradient. That's why I put a negative symbol, so that equals negative 1.1, and so that's how we know the answer is D. Now a lot of people got sucked in by that trick and went for B. Watch out for it. Almost always something to do with this idea of the coefficient of determination and the correlation coefficient R. It tells you this one is R and that one's R squared. So if you've got R squared, you need to square root R squared equals R. But there's an extra trick in this. It's a classic trick because most people forget, like, you know that 3 times 3 equals 9. But don't forget that minus 3 times minus 3 equals 9. So the square root of 9 actually equals plus or minus 3. And since this is a negative line, we actually want the negative value. So we know it's not D or E, just from looking at this. So R squared, the number is always positive, just like 9 is always positive. We got a number here. You just need to stick that into your calculator and square root it. And the easiest way to square root it, and just get rid of that line there, you do to the power 0.5. That's exactly the same thing. So we got that number, R squared to the power 0.15 equals 0.913, but we know it's got to be negative because the line's going down. Therefore, the answer is A. Now, if you look at the answers for question 9, 38% of people went for E because they put it on their calculator and didn't pay attention to that trick. Again, there's another trick.